I am a plant-based recipe developer, cookbook author, and food photographer 15 years ago. Before I even worked in food, I was like, it'd be so cool to have a cookbook. It was just like a lifelong dream. Food for your brain and food for your mind, which Feel Good Kitchen is right now. It's recipes to boost your mood and nourish your brain.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Catch Ups in My Kitchen with me, Georgia Simmons, host of the podcast. This week in my kitchen, I am joined by the gorgeous Amy, who is the creator behind Nourishing Amy, to talk about food, being a food creator, and her new cookbook, which I'm obsessed with. It's actually a cookbook which combines like the brain-gut axis and the connection, and eating to fuel your brain, fuel your mood. Everyone always says like good food, good mood. And yeah, we talk about all of that and more, and what it takes to be a creator in the space. If you haven't checked out Amy's page and you need some inspiration, just check it out. It is gorgeous. It is honestly like art. It is stunning. So I loved chatting to Amy this morning about all things food. If you're a foodie, you will love this episode. So without further ado, let's go and meet Amy in the kitchen. Amy, welcome to the kitchen. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm good, thank you. Really good.
I'm very excited to have you. I feel like this has been in the works for a while, so it's so nice to finally meet you.
Thank you.
Can you give a quick elevator pitch? Who you are and what you do?
My name's Amy. I am a plant-based recipe developer, cookbook author, and food photographer. It's something I absolutely love doing. I just love sharing good plant-based food with everybody and making it accessible so, you know, everyone can make it. And I'm not preachy. I'm not trying to make anyone eat everything that I make, but just kind of make it available to everyone, make it look delicious and vibrant.
I love that. It is actually so true. Your content is very like vibrant, delicious first. Oh, and by the way, it's also plant-based.
Yeah,
which I think is
and
really nice.
I like to like get people in with how the food looks and then be like, oh, by the way, you don't need eggs, you don't need dairy, you don't need meat in here. And then it's just delicious food. It just happens to be vegan.
I love that. We have a quick fire round about all things food to kick things off.
Okay.
So, what is your favourite restaurant in London?
I am always a sucker for Mildred's. You know, and it's like, where should we go? And it's like, should we just go back to Mildred's? Because it's always good.
It's always good. Have you done Mallow?
I have. I really like that one as well.
I haven't done Mallow.
Oh, it's good. It's always very, very busy, like always book. But yeah, that's a lovely one as well.
Yeah, that is good. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Go to Deliveroo.
At the moment, I get this. I think it's called Sombrero. It's like Mexican, and it's really, really good.
Nice.
Like avocado, corn chips, rice, beans. It's just really
Okay,
good.
nice
yeah,
one.
it's a good one.
What is your hangover meal?
Hangover meal would be probably something really fresh. So maybe a smoothie, but then like peanut butter on toast.
Oh,
yeah, really like thick bit of sourdough, peanut butter, maybe some banana on there. Because that's like the carby.
Yeah.
Carby bit, I think. Yeah.
I agree on the fresh. I'm like, I need something to make me feel healthier because I'm feeling not so healthy
Get
right
me
now.
all the goodness in right now. In a smoothie, you can just shove everything into that.
Yeah,
so, yeah
agree.
Like
Okay, what's your favourite coffee shop?
coffee shop. Oh, I feel like there's so many nice ones when I'm in London that I don't have when I'm back home. But back home we have a really nice, it's called Welland Coffee Lab. And there's a couple nearby, it's like Hertford Coffee Lab, and they roast their own beans. And it's just nice to support a local one, so I'd probably have to say that one.
Nice. I love a local. You get to know the baristas.
Yeah.
I love that feel.
And they do a good matcha as well, so that's always
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, which food for you is a complete no-no?
I'm allergic to tempeh, annoyingly. Being vegan, that's one of like your main
my
kind of protein
goodness.
sources, so that would have to be an absolute no.
Okay, interesting you're allergic to tempeh but can eat tofu.
I know, I've spoken to people and also at tempeh company who talk about it, and you don't add anything, it's still fermented, but yeah, very
That's
allergic. So
really
that's
interesting.
No, yeah.
Can you do kimchi and other kind of fermented foods?
Like everything else fermented, I'm totally fine with. So it's a strange one. I can't even like look at a recipe and I just think, oh no.
Wow, okay, interesting. And what's your favourite dish to cook at home?
I would have to say a stir fry, anything noodles or like a ramen. So you can just throw any vegetables in there, anything you've got, and I'm just on a big noodle kick.
Yeah, I love noodles. It's so quick and easy as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get to know the girl behind the recipes because I was like deep dive stalking your page, which was absolutely heavenly. I was like, this is fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's so much food. And I'm like, I want to get to know you. So can you firstly share like kind of your first food memory or a time when like you realised that food was kind of going to be your career?
Okay. I always remember making mince pies with Mum at Christmas. I must have been really little and all I did was roll or like help cut out. So I think that's something that I always used to really enjoy. And then for so long I can remember making birthday cakes for everybody. So obviously when I was really little I'd get the classic Colin the Caterpillar. That was a big one. And then I would just start experimenting in the kitchen. I'd get Mum to help me. So yeah, I just became really interested. And it was probably at university that I was, you're cooking for yourself full time, all the time, probably for the first time for a lot of people. And I think that was when I was like, I'm actually really interested in food and would read food blogs for fun and would just like devour a cookbook like page to page and start experimenting with ingredients and things. So I think that's when I was like a big foodie, I'd say.
Yeah, I really actually agree with that. With me, it's like uni was a really interesting time when you were cooking for yourself, and I used to send pictures to my family of like in the group chat of like things I made. Yeah. And looking back now, I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's awful.
And you thought that was so creative and so, so aesthetic.
Yeah. But it's really fun when you're like, you kind of got free reign just to go for it and see what you can do. So would you say you were more of a baker than a chef, firstly? Because I do feel like you're now definitely both, but I feel like I would say I'm more of a chef than a baker. I don't enjoy baking. It's a no for me. Yeah. But I love cooking. Okay. So would you say you kind of started off loving baking and then it's kind of evolved into cooking?
I think so, yeah. I think it was always the cakes, the cookies, as I said, helping Mum at Christmas or like my nonna in the kitchen. But it was definitely always about the sweets. And then I think it was that university point in my life that you have to actually cook proper meals that I became interested in savoury. But I totally know what you mean. People find baking so stressful, and I get it because once it's in the oven, it's too late. You can't do anything about it.
There's more science to baking as well. Like if you get that, like I'm very much slapdash, add a bit of this, add a bit of that. I love that part of cooking. I don't like following a recipe. As I like reading it. Yeah, taking notes, got it, and then like kind of add my own little spin on it.
Ad lib a little bit as you go. Yeah,
can't do that with baking. I've made many a cupcake which tastes like wet sand.
I know.
And there's nothing worse than putting all that effort into what you're baking and then it comes out a disappointment.
And all the ingredients and all your time. Yeah. No, I know, and that's the hardest part about recipe developing are the fails. But you have to go through those, obviously. But you're like, oh, another wasted one. You're like, it's not even edible. Like, I can't even do it. It's fine when it's just edible, but not great. But it's the ones that you're like, I'm just going to have to throw this. I'm really sorry.
So are you big on food waste then? Because obviously you do create a lot of different recipes. Do you always try and like give it away or eat it or freeze it or?
Yeah, I hate food waste. And obviously you do get the inevitable bit that's like, I don't think even the birds can eat that. So I try and give a lot to the birds, things that, can crumble up. But yeah, I share them with my family. I don't take cake round to my neighbours and little Tupperwares and everything. I try and give it to friends. So yeah, I try to like not waste at all. And then my freezer's always full of savoury things. Because when you make a big dish and you're like, that would be great to save. And then for a rainy day, you've got that. So yeah, I do try and really minimise food waste because it can be such a wasteful industry.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't know why I've got such a thing about it. I hate it. I always try and, my favourite thing is like kind of fridge raid meals when I'm like, what can I put together that I've got in the fridge? Like I just hate wasting it. So that's good to know that you're the same. So what did you study at uni?
I actually studied French with Italian, so nothing to do with food.
Oh my gosh.
So I loved languages when I was at school, and then didn't really know what I wanted to do later in life. So I was like, I'll follow something I'm good at and something I enjoy. So I spent some time in France, spent some time in Italy, which is great food-wise as well. Learned a lot. And then was kind of cooking on the side, developing that as a hobby, I guess, on the sidelines. But yeah, I now don't have much to do with French or Italian anymore. I tutored for a bit, but apart from that, it's in the background.
It's good when you go away, you can use it.
Really, really good. And it's something I still love doing.
So then when did food become your full-time career? Because I think a lot of people probably think, how does it get to this point? Where obviously you're building up your Instagram, doing it on the side, and then suddenly it's your full-time job. So how did that kind of happen?
I think it kind of feels like suddenly, but it's probably been at least 8 years that I've been doing it, but maybe not, probably 5 years full time. I'm going to say since COVID full time.
Still quite a long time, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I feel like on Instagram, I'm one of the older ones.
Yeah, you're an OG in space.
An OG food creator. So I was working in marketing, and then I worked in London for a bit with Deliciously Ella.
Nice.
So I think that's when I was like, I really want to make a career out of food. I love it. I'm not sure how that's going to look, what I'm going to be doing, but I want to make something out of it. So I worked there for a bit, and that really ignited my interest even more, and my passion for food and experimenting with different beans and pulses, and vegan baking especially I became really interested in that. And then after that I went back into marketing for a bit, and that's when I was like part-time in marketing and part-time doing my own thing. So it kind of started on Instagram, just sharing recipes. Back in the day when it was just a static photo, you tag brands that you use, you described what you ate for dinner, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And then I made connections with brands who started sending me products, and then I turned that into paid jobs. So it's all very organic, and it probably took quite a long time, but then it was probably when I became too busy to have a part-time job and doing it that I was like, I'm going to take the plunge and just make this my full-time job, because I've already got an income from it, I'm already busy. So that probably, the full-time part was probably 5.5 years ago.
Nice.
And since then it's just been
just been it. I mean, it is scary to take that full time, but I mean, it's worked and it's been great. Yeah. How has growing on Instagram been? Obviously you were an OG, so I guess back then Instagram was maybe slightly easier to grow back then, but now it's probably, if you were to start now, obviously it's a bit harder, but how has growing online been?
It's been hard. I feel like I've gone through phases that it's been very quick, very steady. Like COVID was very quick to grow, and I think everyone noticed that because everyone was on their phone, everyone wanted new recipes, new inspiration. So that was almost like quite a good business time, actually. And then it became, I don't think it's too saturated. I think there's space for everyone.
Agree.
But there's a lot of people doing the same thing, so it has been very difficult to grow, and I think I've never had a massive boom. It's kind of been very steady, which I'm very grateful for, and I think I've built up a really good community over the years. I think that's more important. I have a lot of good connections and interactions, but I would say it's hard, and I think for the last few years I have really just tried not to get bogged down in stats, because it's so easy to.
Yeah, I know, we were talking about this the other day where like if you look at it too much, you kind of just slightly go insane and the fun gets taken out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
When if you enjoy that content and you enjoy that video, then that's all that matters really. Yeah. And the ones that you probably haven't enjoyed most, people end up loving more, and you're like, this is so confusing, but whatever. Yeah.
When you try and think about it, it makes absolutely no sense. So I think as long as you're proud of the work you're putting out there, and also you think your audience are going to like it as well, because I think you've also got to think about that. What do your audience actually want from you? But I think ultimately, if it doesn't get as many likes as someone else's video, you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And like sticking in your lane, we touched on this before we started recording. That's something that you've been really good at. I think it's really easy to be like, oh, look, they're doing well and this is their content, maybe we should jump on that bandwagon. But you've got such a like distinctive style. How have you managed to kind of stay in that without being led?
Again, that's been hard, and I definitely have been tempted a few times. But I think there's a difference. There's a lot of viral recipes that go around, and I think some of them I think, maybe I can jump on that one because it still fits within my ethos of food and what I want to share. And I think for a time I tried to do more of them, but I'm like, that's just not me. And I think it showed because I didn't really care about doing it. I was kind of putting something out that I didn't really believe in, and then I wasn't passionate about it. So I think it's just being really knowing what your brand stands for, the kind of recipes you want to put out there, but also, you can ask your followers questions like, what do you actually want from me, and the kind of listening to that as well. So it's not been easy, but I think it's more rewarding when you stay in your lane and do what you want to do, because there are so many people out there, but there's no one doing exactly what you're doing.
Completely. Touching on your ethos with food, so you're plant-based. Let's touch on this journey. How long have you been plant-based for?
So probably 7 years now. 7 to 8 years. There was never an overnight period. Again, started back at university, and I was like, oh, I'm going to swap out chicken for chickpeas, and I'm just going to see what I can do with that. And that's when almond milk was becoming really, really popular. I was like, I'm just going to try it just because it's cool.
Yeah.
So just swapping out a few products here and there. Again, not intentionally, I'm going to become vegan. It was just more of an interest in it. And then I kind of noticed that I was just feeling really good, had a lot more energy, and I just felt, I don't know, like I had a glow. And so I guess I just continued to swap out a few things here and there. I was never a big meat eater before, so it wasn't I didn't feel like I was giving up anything. And I think that's an important thing. I was never giving up something, so I didn't miss anything particularly. And then I probably just realised that I hadn't had eggs or I hadn't had any dairy yogurt for a while, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm vegan now, kind of thing.
Yeah, you've stumbled into it.
Yeah, and then I think since then it has definitely grown. I've become a lot more passionate about it. For example, so it probably started for health reasons. Not anything, wasn't trying to cure any ailments or anything, but in the sense that I want to feel my best.
Feel healthier, yeah.
Yeah, and have that glow that everyone spoke about. So that's how it started. And then I was like, obviously animals came into it, and so I'm kind of trying to do my bit for them and the environment and just like the impact on the planet. So I think there's a lot to it, but originally it was just for me because I wanted to.
Yeah, I completely relate to that actually. And I think then you kind of, the more you look, the more you see, and you're like, oh, like, wow. And your For You page starts telling you more about the industry, and you're like, oh my goodness. Like, there is more backing to the reasons why I make the choices I'm making. And I agree with the energy. Like, oh my God, everyone always says, like, how have you got so much energy? And I'm like, it's my diet. Like, I'm just like constantly like, I've got energy. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I just do. And I think recently, you know, a couple of years ago, plant-based has had a real moment, and now it's kind of been slated and it's slightly not having its moment, and the ancestral diet, and everyone's wanting to eat red meat and raw milk and eggs and cheese, and I get it from both sides, but I actually have, as a result of learning more about the animal-based diet, I have introduced Greek yogurt rather than dairy yogurt, and eggs back in. Fish only when I know the source. So I've introduced a few things, but I would definitely say I'm plant rich, and I'm probably like 85 to 90% plant based. And I love it. I feel great on it.
And I think that's the thing, it's what makes you feel really good. And the big focus on plants still, that you're still getting so much diversity from your fruit and veg and pulses and beans. And I have a few friends who have done that, who maybe used to be vegan and now aren't, but, you know, are really conscious about the source of their eggs and their fish, and, you know, might be having like goat's milk yogurt and things like that. And so I think it's about doing what's best for you, but, you know, focusing on whole food plants when we can. But not everyone is going to be plant-based. That's just not how the world is. And I don't believe like that will ever happen. So actually,
I don't think it should. Like, everyone's body operates in such different ways. And people have cured things by going plant-based, and some people have cured things by going animal-based. And I think that's the beauty of it. So are your family plant-based?
No one is actually.
Oh my gosh.
So I think at the start they were like, what are you going to eat? Like, how's this going to go? And I was like, you know, just trust me. Like, it will be fine. And that was obviously 7 years ago now, so they very much trust me. But I'll cook a few nights a week, and that will always be vegan, obviously. And they enjoy that. I kind of know what meals they prefer, you know, what protein sources they enjoy rather than others. And then my boyfriend's not vegan either, but we've ended up kind of veganizing a few of his dishes. So it'll be like, you know, if you do that with chicken, let's do that with tofu. And so that's been like a real learning curve, actually. So that's only been since last year. So it's good for me as well to kind of be like, well, how can I actually adapt that? So maybe you'll like it now, and things like that. So I think I'd almost rather open more people's eyes to a plant-based alternative than only be surrounded by vegans.
Completely. And I think it is actually really easy to adapt. Like, you can have, I love it when you go to restaurants and it's like plant based on the menu, then meats on the side. Like, that's really cool. And I think my ex-boyfriend and I used to kind of do that. There was a time where he actually was like, I think I need some meat in my life. And I was like, yeah, that's a fair point, actually. I was like always the one doing the cooking, so it was always plant-based. And I think he was like, oh, I'm actually needing a bit. So I'd like do, I don't know, like a plant-based risotto, let's say. And then I'd like cook some like salmon to go on top for him, or whatever that was. And I think that's nice. You can like do that.
And that's how it worked for you guys. And I think that's what we end up doing sometimes. So I'm like, oh, like we can make this really nice veggie curry. I'll add some chickpeas in at the end. If you want to add something else in, that's totally fine. Again, it's just making it work for both of you. And then that way everyone's getting more plants, but they don't feel like they're missing out.
Completely. I think the whole like knowing what you're doing with it though, like I think a lot of plant-based people struggled because they were just maybe like eating the same thing over again or not knowing.
Yeah. And just eating vegetables as well.
Yeah.
So like, where's your protein? Of course, you're going to be hungry all the time and deficient in things. So I think it is about educating yourself.
Yeah, and diversity, like eating the rainbow. Like if you've had spinach already, let's get some kale. If you've had kale, where's the broccoli?
Yeah,
asparagus.
exactly.
Like let's just bring in all the different veg just to like build out that bigger picture.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So let's touch on the cookbook, which is very exciting.
Yeah, thank you.
How was that whole process? Why did you want to bring out a cookbook? And then when you had the idea, then how was it building it?
Okay, so it's amazing. I don't know, I probably remember like 10, 15 years ago, before I even worked in food, I was like, it'd be so cool to have a cookbook. It was just like a lifelong dream. And then, so the one that's Feel Good Kitchen, which came out this month in March, is actually my second cookbook. So I had my first cookbook out in January 2023. And that's called Nourishing Vegan Every Day. So that's just basically everything that I love about food in a book: breakfast, lunch, dinner, sweet snacks, all day long food, but kind of nourishing vegan as an overarching theme. So in that sense, there wasn't any other themes. This was all really good plant-based food. And then the second book, Feel Good Kitchen, came about. So it's while the first one was coming out and the publishers approached me. I'm like, we'd love to work with you on a cookbook. And I was like, okay, great, that would be amazing. I didn't have a pitch or anything ready. And so we kind of developed an idea together, which I know is a bit unconventional. Some people go to publishers with a whole pitch idea and everything. But this book was kind of both of ours, really. So they introduced the theme of maybe having it split between food for your brain and food for your mind, which Feel Good Kitchen is right now. It's recipes to boost your brain, boost your mood and nourish your brain. I always get that the wrong way around. I feel like you can do both.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing. So we signed contracts. I created like a full recipe list. So all 80 recipes had to kind of be signed off beforehand. I obviously had flexibility with if they change when I'm doing them, that's fine. But, designing it so it was full, so it had a balance between sweet and savoury, which is something I was really keen about. Because this isn't a baking book, but I love sweet recipes, so I want to make sure there's enough of those in there. And again, the overarching theme is all nourishing, made with whole food, plant-based ingredients, 100% vegan, mainly gluten-free. There's a couple that work better with the gluten, but I'm not gluten-free, so it's not. I'm very keen to make sure it's accessible for everyone.
Yeah.
So I made sure that was a focus. And then I absolutely loved working on it. So as it's designed with ingredients for your brain and your mind, I'm not a nutritionist, but I love nutrition. I know a lot just from what you pick up. And it's amazing what, Instagram, books, everything, you pick up a lot. But I actually did then get a nutritionist to fact check everything in the book, which is something I was very keen about, because I don't want anyone to claim that I'm a nutritionist and, say that they ate this food and it didn't happen. And I'm like, that's not what I'm about. So I worked really hard to incorporate lots of amazing ingredients into each recipe, still while keeping it accessible to the public. So we're not using 5 different types of nuts in one recipe because that's just expensive. As much as it's great for diversity, I've kind of staggered them throughout the book. So, the brain section, there's lots of dark leafy greens, which are really good for your brain, and lots of vitamins and minerals. And then again, lots of nuts and seeds, high in like omega-3 fatty acids for the brain. And then the mind section is full of recipes that either create that feeling of nostalgia. So there's a really lovely like lentil meatball and homemade pasta sauce, which is amazing. It's not my typical food, but I absolutely love that one because it reminds me of being at home when I was younger. And there's lots of vibrant, colourful food because, we eat with our eyes first. So it's something that looks really appealing. So you just know you're going to love that meal, make you happy. And then obviously lots of like coffee, dark chocolate for the polyphenols, just to like make us feel amazing. So I actually became so passionate about all these amazing ingredients while I was doing the book. I think I love it because it's exactly what I want to eat all day, every day. Some cookbooks, they might be a bit rich. So you're like, well, I couldn't eat breakfast, lunch and dinner from there because that's just quite big food. Like it's just too much food for a day.
Yeah.
Whereas I really want to design this so that this is actually what you can eat all day long. So it's even got a weekly like meal plan as well at the start. So it's just a few different combinations you can do. I feel like I've gone right off the point of the question, but I loved doing the cookbook. Basically, it was amazing.
It's so good. I also feel like I've never seen or read a cookbook where there's actual like benefits to the recipes, like stated originally, like brain health. I'm obsessed with brain health so much. Like I have MCT oil every morning. I'm so on it with like brain health. So, and I think obviously we all know about the brain to gut connection. And I was actually reading this morning about how like, you know, you want to be smarter. It's all coming from food. Like you can read and learn new skills, which is obviously helps your brain too. But the food you eat is huge. It's your energy source. So I love that. I think it's so good. And I don't think many people think about brain health when they're choosing what to eat.
No, I don't think so. And I think it's definitely an emerging topic that people are more interested in. You know, things like dementia are only on the rise. So we think about it in terms of dementia and Alzheimer's, but actually what we can do now in our like, you know, in whatever age, but teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, all these amazing foods that you can include now to keep your brain active and just to really nourish your brain, I guess. And as it's like the MCT oils, it's all the nuts and seeds, it's the dark leafy greens, which are just so rich in nutrients. So it is something that's really interesting. And again, I hadn't seen a book that spoke about brain health, and also spoke about recipes in terms of nutritional value that wasn't just nutritional value, like protein, carbs, sugars. I was like, that's not what I'm about. That's not what my food is. But actually, I want to show you what's everything that's included in here that is going to really help you.
Yeah, definitely. Did you learn anything different when you were doing the book? Obviously, you were like deep dive researching maybe more, like kind of becoming more obsessed with like mood enhancing and like how we feel. Was there anything that kind of like taught you?
I think this really emphasised the gut-brain connection. I think that was just a really, really big one because it comes up time and time again. So obviously the book's divided into 2 sections, but really the gut-brain axis is everything. Everything we eat can affect our gut, which then in turn can affect our brain and, you know, our ability to make good decisions and just overall how we feel. It's just so important. So I think that was just a really interesting one. It just really reaffirmed how important gut health is. And I think it made me as well really conscious of making sure diversity was key. Like it is really easy to cook up a big batch of quinoa and have quinoa for like 3 or 4 nights a week, something like that. But it made me really keen to like, I'm just going to cook one batch because then tomorrow I'm going to have something different, or I'm going to switch up my fruit and vegetables because I always go back to a kiwi and strawberries, but actually I want to switch it up. So I think it made me more aware of making my diet, even though I think it's already quite diverse, but just really switching it up to make sure I'm getting a whole host of vitamins and minerals.
Definitely. So you've listed a few of them already, but what are some of the great brain foods that we should be eating?
So I think the big ones are nuts and seeds, walnuts in particular. And I think I read once that they're shaped like the brain. So of course they're going to be good for the brain. And like that's a really good way to remember it. Chia and flax seeds are some of the big seeds that are really important. And, you know, just a tablespoon a day can make so much difference. And then we've got our dark leafy greens, so that's like kale, spinach, broccoli, but anything leafy really. So we've got like cauliflower in there as well. Loads of fruits, so like really richly coloured fruits, so oranges, berries, blueberries in particular, which are really high in antioxidants, which a lot of us do know, but they're just so good for the brain. They just send so much goodness there. So that's another really big one. Avocados and other healthy fats, so you know, really good olive oils for cooking with coconut oils. I just kind of I feel like they just like nourish you from the inside because they're soft and they add all that lovely fat into everything, which is obviously so important for our brain and just helps it function. So diversity really.
Yeah, I love all of that.
And whole grains, and it almost sounds too simple because it's just going back to a really good, simple plant-based, but not necessarily fully plant-based, but a plant-based diet where you just have diversity, have loads of different colours in your diet. And again, fermented foods is a massive one. So like tofu, like fermented yogurts, which you can get dairy-free ones as well. So having like good fermented yogurts, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, they'll really just nourish the gut-brain axis, which again,
I
it's
love
really
that.
important.
I really love that. What are some of your kind of favourite recipes from the book? If anyone has the book and is like, right, what would you recommend someone trying first? You mentioned the meatballs.
The meatballs are a really good one. Breakfast-wise, is brain food granola, which I just love. It's
I love a homemade granola, so I'm going to try that.
It's just so good. It's just got lots of different nuts and seeds in there. Minimal added sugar, but it's with olive oil as well, which is great for the brain. And then almond butter or peanut butter, whichever you prefer. So again, lots of healthy fats, but it's still crunchy and it's still clustery, because I hate it when you make granola and it doesn't have those big clusters.
Yeah.
So that's a really good favourite breakfast. There's also really lovely like butter bean shakshuka with like a homemade tofu feta, which sounds like extra, but it's so good because it takes like 2 minutes to make and just adds that like salty umami kind of goodness on top. The front cover recipe is one of my favorites actually, like a golden miso curry noodle bowl. That's probably the wrong title, but it's a really good, so like the sauce is like butternut squash and loads of really rich vegetables with like garlic and ginger, so it's really fresh. And then it's just like served with sticky tofu, noodles, vegetables, so you get a bit of everything there.
Yum.
There's a butternut squash dal, which is just so good. You know, it's something just simple but really, really good. Dessert-wise, the dark chocolate avocado pistachio truffles are amazing, and no one would know they have avocado in.
Oh my gosh.
You know, just like blend everything up. Yeah, make sure there's like no bits of green from avocado, but they're like really indulgent. But I wanted to step away from the classic coconut cream chocolate truffle. So I was like, let's try avocado. So that's a good one. There's like a celebration cake. It's like a raspberry ripple celebration cake with like homemade chia seed jam, and the sponge has got the yogurt in and olive oil, and it's a lot lower sugar. So I think I wanted to show, you know, you can celebrate and still make a healthier, wholesome cake.
These sound I'm definitely going to be making some of those. That sounds insane.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably forgotten so many of my actual favourites.
I'm going to do the granola for sure, and the noodle butternut squash noodly one. That sounds delicious.
It is a good one, if I say so myself.
Yeah, I was actually saying to my housemate, I was like, I need to have a few, you know when you kind of forget to look at your cookbooks, and I was like, oh, I need to have a bit of a cookbook moment. And she was like, what does that mean? I was like, oh, when you actually have a little read through and just like just I just read it. Yeah. Like when you're busy, I write a list of recipes I want to create on my phone, and every week I go into that and I make something, but I never have something on repeat, but I kind of forget sometimes you lack inspiration, or you need to add a bit of something different into your life. So I was like, we need to sit down and do that. So I will be doing that this weekend. I'll have a look and I'll send you a picture. Let me
know what you decide to make, because I'm always interested in like what's people's go-to recipe from there, because I know mine. And sometimes you have to branch out a bit to like, no, I'm going to try something different. So I'm always interested to see like what people love.
The noodles I'm going to do, and I'm definitely going to do the granola. I love a homemade granola. I used to make my own and sell it in store in like farm shops. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And it did. My hero ingredient was orange, so I did like that was my sugar content. Nice. So freshly squeezed orange was in every bag. Zested as well. Yeah. So I had a chocolate orange one, and then I had an orange and cinnamon one.
That sounds delicious.
It was really good, but I just it was a COVID thing, and I tried to get it out of COVID and keep it going, and I just thought, I don't think this is a life for me. So we stopped it.
It's a hard one because everyone loves granola, but there are so many granola companies out there. There's so many good artisanal granolas out there, and I'm sure yours was absolutely amazing, and I wish I got to try it. But it's a hard market.
It's a hard market, and also making your own actually is very easy, and everyone can kind of you can do it. So I was like, let's just stick to this as a hobby, not a job.
And if you still enjoy it, kind of it's like having a restaurant. Everyone's like, oh, do you want a restaurant? I'm like, no, because it would just take the whole joy out of cooking, I think, at this moment anyway.
Completely.
Because I love cooking for people, but any more than that and I get stressed. And then I'm just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. You know,
maybe like a supper club.
Yeah,
something like that could be nice.
I feel like that could be really fun.
Because you can dip your toe in and be like, oh, fun for the night. And then like,
and it's a one-off. One-off. Yeah, definitely. I could do that.
Definitely. Well, we always finish with a what is in your bag.
Okay.
So do you mind sharing what's in your handbag?
Absolutely.
I love this question. Yeah. I love seeing. Lovely bag, firstly.
Well, I do actually have a copy of the cookbook.
Oh my gosh, love it. Here we go.
I feel like that's a good one.
And this is the dish. So that looks like tempeh.
It does, but I think it's just the it's just the texture.
Yeah.
And it's got like sesame seeds on it as well.
That honestly looks insane.
I hope you'll love
And you
it,
did all the photography as well.
I did all the photography, which is something I was absolutely so passionate about, actually. I feel like you might like this one. It's a superfood buckwheat seed bread.
Oh.
It's so good.
How long does that take to make?
Well, like 20 minutes, but in the oven, 40.
Fine.
But you're literally stirring stuff together.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's no kneading.
I think I'm going to be in the kitchen this weekend. That's just going to be that's going to be my thing.
That's my bag. Obviously, my phone.
Nice.
All the content. A spare tote bag, because that's always really important.
Yeah. I was actually saying, like, not many people carry tote bags.
I always have a tote bag. I feel like a grandma, but I always have one.
I love that.
Water.
Essential.
I know. A snack bar.
Okay, what's a snack bar of choice?
Well, I've not tried this one before. Okay. I was given it in a goodie bag. It's called Indie Gut Bar.
Okay.
So it's almond butter, Brazil nut, flax seeds, quinoa, oats. And then it's got like loads of different berry powders, moringa, reishi mushroom, baobab.
This sounds a good one.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah. I've not tried it before. It's very, very good ingredients. And an apple, because I sometimes get hungry on the train home. And just an apple hits the spot.
It hits the spot. Nice.
Yeah, I'm actually getting this all out on the table.
I love
an overflowing mini makeup bag.
A mini makeup bag.
Yeah,
that's
just a little mini one. And then a little pouch that's got other stuff in.
Love that. Is that Elizabeth Scarlett?
Yeah, I actually love their stuff so much. I always have like at least 2 of them on me.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Tickets.
Nice.
For the train. Mints, because I don't go anywhere without mints.
Yeah, agree.
I'm such a mint person.
Yeah.
And then we've got another snack bar. To be fair, this one is broken in the middle because it's been at the bottom of my bag for a while.
Yeah.
But that's just a misfits.
Nice. Just a bit more of an indulgent one if you need to pick it up.
Yeah, a little chocolatey.
Yeah.
And a spare lip balm because
lovely.
You can never have too much.
No, you can't. That was quite a good.
There's also like 2 receipts at the bottom.
And
a spare hair scrunchie because you always need one.
But
apart from that,
that's pretty immaculate.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad.
Immaculate one.
I was a bit worried, I'm not going to lie.
Great recommendations there. The Indie Gut Bar, I'm really intrigued about.
I am as well, actually. Yeah. I hadn't heard of them before.
Like that. And the mini makeup bag, also genius.
Yeah, it usually does close. I'm not sure why. But it's just, to have a lip balm, a little brush.
Yeah. Also, everything's small. That's really good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
because then it just goes into all my handbags.
I love that. Yeah. And you don't have to keep refilling it. It's just the mini makeup bag's done.
And it just stays there. And you don't need to keep have I got it with me? So it just stays in the bag.
That is a life hack of the day. Thank you so much.
I'm glad.
Amy, thank you so much for joining us in the kitchen.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so lovely to be in your home and your kitchen.
I've loved it. And I'm so excited to have a weekend of cooking. I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you're going to make.
I know. Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Next week in my kitchen, I am joined by Georgia Meacham, who was born deaf. She is an advocate for being deaf, and she is an absolute inspiration. If you are interested in hearing this episode, which you will not want to miss because she is incredible, then click that follow and subscribe button so you are notified next Tuesday when the episode lands. Thank you guys so much again, and see you next week.